Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. This is February 18th, 2024, a little after 5 p.m., and we begin our session here through the vehicle of the Institute for Global Transformation. My name is Lyrata Barrett, and today we are working on an aspect, most importantly, with which all of this work that I have been sharing with you over the last 20-some months is an aspect of transmutation. It's the aspect of shifting our consciousness, our awareness, from one thing into something of a higher frequency. Let us begin. As we go through our own self-initiatory effort to move our awareness into mental polarization, and as we seek to integrate our personality or our persona, our threefold vehicle, physical, astral, and mental, into a vehicle that is available for the soul to use, we're confronted in that journey at some point in time with the issue of who am I? It's an issue of identity. We can no longer claim that we are who we were when we began this journey, because everything in our being is now moving in a different way. Everything in our being, the frequency that we were when we began this journey and where we are now, are two totally different things. So we might ask ourselves, who are we now? What am I connected to? How do I identify myself? With what am I identified? Once we realize, as we do now, that we are no longer our physical body, we're no longer our emotional body, and we are no longer our mental body or our thoughts. So there comes then a crisis of identity. What is available for us to hold on to, and what we think is available to hold on to at this point, is a vague sensing or essence we receive from our soul as we seek to be mentally polarized rather than emotionally polarized. And as we realize now that every time we go into meditation, there's a distillation, so to speak, drop by drop, drip by drip, of the soul moving into our being. But as yet, not enough for us to be able to say, aha, that's what I am. It's still quite nebulous and vague. These senses are vague because they come from abstract levels. They're not readily accessible to most. Yet we are learning through these meditations to connect on those higher abstract levels. But until those connections are more solidified, we are, in a sense, feeling around in the dark, so to speak, using our higher senses to connect us to the gossamer filaments that we are sensing or that's eking out from the aspect of the soul. That blueprint being downloaded into our being through our earnest meditational moments and a life that we seek to live in right action, with right understanding. So, once we are able to connect, then we become gradually, most of us, more aware of a new sense of identity. We are attempting at this point to formulate an ideal that will be the blueprint of that new identity. Our goal is self-realization or self-initiatory action. This ideal is usually the polar opposite of what and who we have been, or who we've known ourselves to be in the past. And as such, initially, attempts at formulating this new blueprint of the aspirational self include more virtuous behavior. I mean, the sights are more virtuous. We are thinking of things that are like greater patience, compassion, charitability, trust, being honorable, being loving. This initiatory work comes in the form of what we perceive to be and what we are seeking to do. We're seeking to discipline ourselves. It's self-discipline, usually including a host of do's and don'ts at the earlier stages. When we focus, though, on do's and don'ts, what happens is it limits us, okay? Uh, it results in unpleasant experiences because the do's and don'ts are based upon inhibition or movements that are inhibiting rather than more positive ways. And usually when we work to prohibit ways of being or inhibit or cease to exhibit certain behaviors, knowing that they are not appropriate simply by saying, no, I can't, or I won't do this, what happens is that we're usually just putting a Band-Aid, right? We're putting a Band-Aid over an unclean wound, so to speak. We have not really done the deep work necessary to alchemically shift one behavior into a totally different behavior. And usually what happens when we put a Band-Aid over an unclean wound? It festers and results over time in a replacement or a positioning, really, of the same activity, the same ways of being, because it has not been transmuted. And this is what we're seeing playing out, really, in our political world. It is only through transmutation, also known as spiritual alchemy, which is scientifically based, that one can grow clearly, decisively, and completely. It is only through transmutation that the shift happens. Let's define transmutation briefly. Transmutation in its simplest form is the process of changing one element into another. This can be done through a variety of methods, including nuclear reactions, chemical reactions, biological processes. In alchemy, transmutation is often viewed as a metaphor for spiritual transformation, with the goal of transforming the base elements of the human experience into something more refined and more valuable. When we talk about elements, I'll interject this here. When we talk about elements, we're usually speaking of 5 elements: space, some might call it spirit, or the quintessence, air, fire, water, and earth. Air deals with prana, or soul, or mobility. Fire, temperature. Water, fluidity. Earth, solidity. These are very initial ways of defining the 4 elements, okay? Quintessence, expansiveness, or space, or spirit, okay? We live as a whole, as a group, between the polar opposites of our personality, or ego. Our ego and our being. Our personality and our spiritual self, okay? Often we're dealing with things like desires. We know that. Desires, self-esteem, that tells us we deserve everything we want. And disappointment comes when either we've had it and lost it, or we've wanted it and never get it. We've hoped for it, wished on it, prayed for it, and it doesn't come. Or we've had it and, as I said, all of a sudden, it's gone. It disappears. We lose it. Our being, or our spirit aspect, our soul, wants the ego to be retrained and reprogrammed so that it becomes a good vehicle for the soul's use. Self-realization or self-initiated growth cannot happen without transmutation. And this is where a lot of people get lost, because it's the deep work. It's that aspect of our work that is the shadow work, that requires us to go into the subconscious, or at least open a way for the subconscious to be able to send the symbols or the information needed in order for us to understand what it is that's going on. So, to begin the necessary work of transmutation, which we are in the process of, all of us, as we do this work that I teach every month, or whatever other work you might be doing on your own shadow work. But as we do this work, which we're in the process of, simply by attending these sessions, meditations, and focusing on, as we called it, persona integration of the personality, and taking this work seriously, digging in our elbows and really doing the work, being serious about it. That is what, these are the steps necessary in order for us to begin to focus on transmutation, the transmutational process. In this lesson, particularly, we're learning how to develop a new identity, a step-by-step process to develop a new identity. There are a few things we need to understand and begin to digest before we do this work, because of terminology that's used. And you'll see what I mean as we go forward. Terminology in this spiritual work can be a huge turnoff to many of us who seek alternative approaches to inner learning, spiritual development, than that of the mainstream that we have known, or our parents have come from, or generations have come from. I myself, I speak very honestly. My father was a Methodist minister in an ecumenical church. And I automatically sought from youth alternative approaches to spirituality. And I was very, very attracted to the Eastern way. And find, as I began to work within the Ageless Wisdom teachings, that I found that I automatically had a tendency to want to contract whenever I heard certain terminology like the word Christ or Son of God or Child of God, because it resounded too much, sounded too much like that which I heard in church. So, I was used to, if we were talking about the Christ principle, I was used to the Alexandrian way, or the Egyptian rather way. You would speak about Horus, and you'd know you were talking about the Christ principle. So I've had to learn to balance that contraction and to go deeper into the terminology myself to begin to understand it from a different level. Okay? So I am imparting in this moment, as we get ready to do this transmutational work, which will be transformational in terms of being able to sense the ideal of the blueprint of your soul, the ideal of your soul. So I ask that you allow bridging in terminology, okay? Just stay open for it as I begin to impart this information to you so you understand it from a new place, which is what we're all about anyway. Okay? So I've grown to realize that these terms mean something other than what I thought when viewed through the lens of the wisdom. Okay? As I've mentioned to you before, to assist us in the transitioning, the acceptance, and a much broader understanding of the word Christ, or the Christ, both, I read from The Reappearance of the Christ, which is an esoteric book by Alice Bailey that explains the true meaning behind the word. And we'll go on from there. And I quote, "The doctrine of mediators, of messiahs, of Christs, and of avatars can be found running like a golden thread through all the world faiths and scriptures, and relating these world scriptures to some central source of emanation. Ever down the ages, at every great human crisis, always in the hours of necessity, at the founding of a new race, or in the awakening of a prepared humanity to a new and wider vision, the heart of God, impelled by the law of compassion, sends forth a teacher, the capital T, a world savior with a capital S, and illuminator, capital I, and avatar, a transmitting intermediary, a Christ. He gives the message which will heal, which will indicate the next step to be taken by the race of men. And when they use that word race, they're not speaking about all of the different races of humanity that we know. The race of men that come through a particular 2,500-year period, regardless of what color they are, is what they're talking about. It is a collective group that issues forth to live upon a planet within a particular span of time, all holding an aspect of the same quality and awareness, all holding a particular blueprint that is to be evolved within a generation of many generations that will live within that span of time. That's what they call a race. We've gone through 4 major races within this solar system in which we live. 5th race is now coming online. That's a whole nother study. He gives the message which will heal, which will indicate the next step to be taken by the race of men, which will illumine a dark world problem and give to man an expression of some hitherto unrealized aspect of divinity. Wow, isn't that powerful? So a particular race is responsible for unraveling, discerning, awakening to an unrealized aspect of divinity. That's their charge, among others. Upon this fact of the continuity of revelation and upon the sequence of this progressive manifestation of the divine nature is based the doctrine of avatars, divine messengers, divine appearances, and saviors. To them, all history unmistakably testifies. Again, this is from The Reappearance of the Christ by Alice Bailey. And I follow up with these words. These are my words. The divine plan for humanity overall is everyone a spiritually realized being, an adult son or daughter of the divine, not a child, no longer a child. One who realizes this level of awareness is said to have reached what in the East may call samadhi, or one has become a Mahatma, also one of the words used in Eastern religions, or that one has become what we know as being Christed here in the West. As Yeshua, son of son of John and Mary, is the only being, it is said, who in one lifetime ever went through all of the levels of initiation in one lifetime that a human can take. That usually takes most of us myriads of lifetimes to achieve. Yeshua went through it all in one lifetime, leaving that blueprint available for humanity to realize that they too can actualize in one lifetime if they so choose. But regardless of how many lifetimes it takes, that pathway was set down by Yeshua, which is why he is known as the Christed one, or as the Christ. Okay? And Christ means anointed one. You've heard me talk about the planetary hierarchy, I believe. They are known as the heart center of our planet. Those beings who have at one time walked the earth and have gone through all the stages possible and who have achieved a level of excellence in this process, so that they are now operating within, able to operate, and chosen, selected to operate within the hierarchy. Their choice for the benefit of humanity as guides and as protectors. The before the Christ indicates an office. The Christ is an office that can be held by whomever is appointed to that office. And it may actually be a collective, who knows? The Christ signifies that energy or stream of consciousness that heads the entire spiritual hierarchy. So I share that with all of you in hopes that you can integrate, ponder first on those definitions, and begin to absorb that awareness of what the word really actually means, and not allow yourself to get stuck in that Bible speak that we all know so well and have, in many cases, recoiled from in our youth. As it is said, when we mount this path of initiation, most of us start out on the mystic path, the path of the heart. At some point in time, we move into the occult path, the path of the head. There's a difference between the two, big time. But the eventual goal being is that we have to, at some point, embody both paths at the same time. It's not either one or the other. We learn them both and they blend. You, in this transmutative work, see or envision yourself as the adult spiritual self, as that bright light deep within your core that over time will grow, encompassing the threefold persona with its radiant light. What does that actually mean? Now we're moving into the aspect or the form of the transmutational work that you will begin to, that I'm offering, that you begin to work on. Over a period of time. That will help to lift your frequency out of the negative patterns that you've known and set them into a new place. That higher ideal, that higher realm, that higher frequency, which once done and upheld will see the negative patterns from which they came atrophy, disappear, no longer be there. That's transmutation. That's what transmutation is all about. So let's look at the form. How are we going to do this? So hold in your mind's eye the vision of you being that adult spiritual self. That see it as a bright light deep within the core of your being. See it as a bright blue-white light that over time grows and encompasses your threefold persona with its radiant light. Imagine yourself as a blue-white radiant light within your sphere of consciousness called the soul. See this blue-white sun, so to speak, radiant sun, sunlight, blue-white light that infuses and consumes your persona, your personality, your physical, your astral, your mental being. This will become your spiritual identity. That's step one. Next step, Step 2. Examine what the basic characteristics of the spiritual being you seek to become, what those characteristics are. And now I will help you delineate these characteristics. There are 3 basic characteristics. And these characteristics are seen as a triangle. Okay? So it's not an equal necessary, it's triangle turned on its side. Okay? Yeah, there we go. Okay? So you are imagining that blue-white line. You are that. There you go. Right smack dab in the center. That's what you imagine first and foremost. And then you build, starting at the very top. Starting at the very top here, the first principle. Okay? Okie dokie. First point of the triangle. Is divine will. Divine will is your divine inheritance. As you are a son or daughter of the divine. This energy overshadows you. This divine will energy overshadows you, and it aligns you with God, the energy of the Father aspect. Divine will represents the Father, God aspect. It works out through us in our threefold persona as good will. Okay? So that's the first one. Divine will. Second point of the triangle. And this point is located below and to the right of the first point of the triangle, as you can see here. Below and to the right of the triangle. Right there. We call that one divine love wisdom. It is located below and to the right of the first point of the triangle. It is the basic nature of the adult son of God, son or daughter of God, which pertains to the aspect of soul in its perfection that we all have. They're watching us, with us through every incarnation. That aspect of ourselves that is above and free of the form. Wisdom untold within it, and is seeking to be able to inhabit this vehicle in completion, in totality, seeking that incarnation where the divine marriage can happen. Divine love is created by remember this, because we've gone through this before, it's created by the interplay or interaction between divine will, the Father, and intelligent activity or matter, the divine mother aspect. Okay? Remember, we talked about that magnified energy. When divine will impresses divine intelligence, stuff happens. Matter gets excited and perfectly outpictures the intention of divine will. Remember that. Through the power of divine love, that is the soul, we are able to at one with all of humanity. So the beauty of the soul and the beauty of soul life, well, the sky is absolutely gorgeous outside as the sun is going down. The beauty of the soul is that it's all about brotherhood. Touches my heart. It's all about brotherhood. As souls, we know we are one. We live in that place, that consciousness that just gets it, that there is no differentiation between us. We see each other as souls and love each other as a result of it. And that extends not only to humanity, but to the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and we see ourselves as stewards, guardians of this planetary being in which we live, move, and have our being. Divine love wisdom, the soul, creates true brotherhood. Divine love creates right understanding or empathy or altruism. Our ability to love and do unto others as we would have them do unto us comes from this aspect, this second point of the triangle, that we are divine love wisdom, and that we seek to align with in much stronger ways. Okay? So, divine love wisdom. And then the last point, the third point of the triangle, located below and slightly to the left. So here we go. Divine will, divine love wisdom, divine intelligence, or creativity. Okay, and in the center is that blue-white light. Okay, let me explain this last point to you. Okay, located below and slightly to the left of the first 2 points. This comes from us as being sons and daughters of the divine, interacting with the divine mother or the mother aspect matter, which is intelligent, which is why she's able to outpicture perfectly. That's why she gets excited when impressed by divine will. And she's able to perfectly outpicture the intention. She doesn't get it wrong. If it comes up wrong, it's only because that was imbued within the intention itself. And it teaches us in the creative process what it is we didn't formulate right in the idea of that which we seek to manifest or sought to manifest. We'll deal with that at another time, but just give you that little nugget. Through her contribution, we have form and appearance. to the contribution of mother or matter, intelligent activity. We have form and appearance. Intelligent activity works out as creativity and imagination. The ability to have ideas, formulate ideas within our threefold persona. That's the gift of creativity. It's the gift, right? As the divine creates, so are we creative. We have been given the gift of creativity. Remember that lesson months back? The only problem is that we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten that we're not here to create any willy-nilly thing we seek to create just for the heck of it. Whether it's right or wrong, whether it serves humanity or not, we are here to create only in alignment with the divine, something that indigenous people have never forgotten. And they look at us and don't understand why we don't get it. And why we're creating so much harm in the world. Because we think that we are a power in and of ourselves. We don't realize that we are extensions of the divine in form, here to create an alignment with the divine. One day we'll wake up, unfortunately, hopefully not too late, and we're getting to the end of that right now. It expresses itself when aligned properly as right action in our life and affairs. This third point, this divine creativity, this intelligent creativity or activity. It expresses itself when aligned as right action in our life and affairs. So in those three aspects of characteristics, okay, the three basic characteristics that we seek to embody and hold in juxtaposition within this triangle of manifestation that we're holding in our consciousness as we seek to transmute lower self into its higher principles, into the higher self. So we hold this structure in our minds. And I will tell you exactly where they are in a moment. We envision a point of Christed life, that blue-white light within a triangle of spiritual force, as just mentioned. To this complete package, we add the following. That which will be the aura of the spiritual soul, or the ideal that we seek to create. We have to add 4 more things, and this will be an aspect they're not actually in a structural form. They are more like the auric influence around this triangle of manifestation that we're holding in our consciousness. These 4 things will be divine harmony. That is, the persona is being tuned to divine harmony. Concrete science and knowledge. The aura is being patterned after the facts in nature. Devotion to the ideal. The aura holds a devotional quality, or it is aspirational. And the last being divine law and order. And this happens through attraction of right relationship. All forms within the magnetic aura of the triangle exhibit order within the system, so that divine order can exist within the life and affairs of the persona. The ideal structure is now set up to hold within one's consciousness through this triangle of manifestation. The transmutative process consists of a different seed thought to be utilized at every new moon period, either on a daily basis or at least several times a week. So, structure you have in mind. Triangle. Blue-white light in the center. Divine will at the very top. Divine love, wisdom. Creative intelligence. Divine creative intelligence, or divine intelligence. We have the auric influence as being divine harmony, having to do with the persona holding that aspect of harmony. Concrete science and knowledge, that aspect of realizing that there are certain basic laws and facts of nature that we always have to be held accountable for. Devotion to an ideal, that we bring in the aspect of aspiration into this work. And divine law and order, right relationship, that in everything that is order exists. Law and order exists. Okay. Now, with all of that patterning in mind, now we are able to do the actual work. And the actual work consists of a particular rhythm. Each new moon, you will bring in a new seed thought that will help you to build the ideal of your soul through this structure. It's a magical, an alchemical chamber that has been being built up for you to bring a new seed thought into every month at the new moon period, that time of formulating new ways of being. So that you can be impressed with, by sounding this seed thought, each month with an aspect of the ideal of your soul. How much better could it get? What a gift, is it not? You focus on the seed thought in meditation. allowing it to become positive to all other thoughts by fixing it concretely or firmly in your mind. By doing that, it becomes, that seed thought becomes causative to everything else that's going on within you. By doing this, the substantial forces of the persona are lifted into a higher frequency. This becomes a magnetic influence that lifts them out of the old negative patterns or habits, creating a new pattern dictated by the new polarization to that higher frequency. So that higher frequency that you are sounding, that seed thought, becomes a higher frequency that infiltrates the persona and magnetizes the essence of your being in need of change to it, out of the clutches of previous negative polarity or negative frequency, habits, patterns, ways of being, and lifts it up into that higher space, that higher aspect. Remember, we talked about this a couple months ago. We talked about this when we were talking about the magnetic field, and we were talking about divine will, and we were talking about divine intelligence, matter, mother aspect, and we were talking about the aspect of that divine will coming down, and we were talking about the movement, how divine love, wisdom, or the aspect of the soul moves. Remember, one moves in a rotary motion, the other one moves in a spiral, and the other one moves in both spiral and rotary to lift the energies up. And as it's lifting up, it's sifting out stuff from the old way and lifting it up into the higher frequency. Remember, we went over that. Go back over that particular lesson because it's pertinent to what this work is all about. Okay? Okay. So the meditation. Let's look at the meditation itself. Each new moon period on the day of the new moon, or close thereafter, I would say within 3 days of the new moon, max, you are responsible for progressing through to the next seed thought. I will leave a separate video of the meditation itself that's titled The Year's Transmutational Seed Thought for you to use separately. The next new moon is on March 21st. That you'll be able to access on IFGT YouTube's page. I should also tell you that the name of my program is changing going forward, I think after this month. And the new name that you'll be able to find me under, and you'll see through the advertisements that go out. The new name is Self-Mastery Training via Ageless Wisdom Teachings. And the old videos will still be accessible under that category, I would imagine. So it's important to realize that before I go on, that no one can self-realize without transmutation. Transmutation is meditation is the key that unlocks the door. And once that door is unlocked, transmutation is the way that lifts you up on the path. Okay? They both go hand in hand. So I will walk you through so you understand what the meditation process actually is. I'll walk you through it. If you want, you can close your eyes so that you can kind of get its texture and context, okay? And then I'll close down this session for the night, okay? Let's prepare for meditation. In a sitting position, please. We don't want to do this laying down. Become physically relaxed and comfortable. Become emotionally calm and serene. Become mentally poised and alert. Focus the consciousness in the ajna center between the brows and 3 to 6 inches beyond or outside of the brow, and concentrate for a few moments on the following. And these statements that follow simply set those triangular points into place. I am mentally polarized. I am integrating the substantial forces of my threefold personality into aspiration to my ideal of the Son of the Divine, son or daughter of the Divine. Turn the attention to visualize a point of blue-white light in the very center of the head. Bounded by a triangle of spiritual force. See that blue-white light becoming bright and large, expansive. The top point of the triangle is located at the top of the head. The second point at the ajna center between the brows. The third point is located outside and to the back of the neck, 3 inches beyond the neck or the spine area. That is the throat chakra. Visualize a radiating sphere of golden light from the central point, which is its magnetic aura in the world of affairs. Contemplate for 3 to 5 minutes on the meaning of this symbol as follows. The son and daughter or daughter of God is a focal point of Christ life. Remember our understanding of these definitions. That life is characterized by divine will, divine love, wisdom, and intelligent activity. Its auric attributes are harmony, concrete science and knowledge, devotion to the spiritual ideal, and divine law and order. I am that life. I am that life. Here is where you would meditate then on the seed thought, the first seed thought, and I will share that seed thought with you, even though you really will ideally wait until March 21st to begin this process. Seed thought for the first month. I, the soul, have purpose, power, and will. I infuse my personality with the will to good. I express that will to good outwardly as goodwill toward my brothers. You sound that seed thought. Allow the sound of that seed thought to ring in your mind. You can sound it out loud or silently. Allow it to ring in your mind. Follow the energy of the frequency of the seed thought. Let go of the words. That's how you work with a seed thought. You drop the words and you follow the frequency, the tone of the group of words that's left when the words are no longer there. And you follow that frequency even when you cannot hear the sound or the frequency any longer. You keep following it in silence. And that's how the magic of this meditation happens. You keep your focus above the throat chakra. closer to that point of the first aspect of the triangle, that of divine will. That's where you keep your focus, between there and the ajna. Follow the essence of that seed thought. As you contemplate the seed thought, endeavor to relate it to your immediate life and affairs as planned right action. This you do after you have been meditating on that seed thought for about 5 to 10 minutes. Turn your attention to the mind nature and repeat these words audibly if possible. My mind is infused with the light of Christ, made clear and vivid by that light, and transmuted into an instrument of service to the one life. Turn your attention to the emotional nature and repeat, audibly if possible. My emotional nature is infused with the love of Christ, made calm and still by that love, and transmuted into an instrument of peace within the one life. Turn your attention to the physical instrument via the brain and nervous system, and repeat audibly if possible. My physical brain is infused with the creative imagination of the Christ. All of the life of this physical is infused with the right action of the Christ and transmuted into the temple of the one life. And lastly, turn your attention to your immediate environment and repeat again audibly if possible. My environment is infused with the divine attributes of the Christ to manifest divine adjustment in my life and affairs to the divine plan for humanity. Silently or aloud, sound the Om and relax the attention and return to normal focus. Throughout your day, endeavor to embody your realizations. First and foremost, write any realizations you have down as to this meditation as you're doing it, either today and every day that you do it. And try to embody your realizations through application of these realizations in your day-to-day routine. Reread your morning meditation report and reflect upon it in your day, especially at the end of the day. You can ask, how much of the ideal did I embody? Wherein did I not embody? Where did I fail to embody? Keep a record of these reflections as well as the meditations. And in this, your spiritual diary, you will have a record of your growth, which can be of tremendous value at a later date. Realizing now that you're doing one of these seed thoughts on a monthly basis, this is a year's worth of transmutational meditational work. The choice is in your hands. Remember, how high you turn your fire determines how fast your water will boil. We are the only ones responsible for our self-initiatory growth, our own self-realization. This will strengthen us from the boots up, from the ground up, and back down again. Again, the choice is yours. And with that, I leave you. As I said, I will leave the seed thoughts and the meditation in written form for you to be able to access. And plug in the appropriate seed thought at each new moon, starting with Aries new moon. Am I correct with that? Will that be the Aries new moon? I think it will be. Oh, yes, here it is. March 21st. Yep, it'll be the Aries new moon. Perfect place to start, right? And go through straight on to the Pisces new moon at the end of next year, which will complete a year's cycle. This is a gift, people. This is a gift. A gift of being able to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, within your being. I hope you take advantage of it. I've done this, and I'll do it again with you. That's how important this work is. Much love to all of you. Until the next time. And I thank the Institute for Global Transformation and Marianne Miller, Ken Marks, and all of the people who work with love on a volunteer basis with the Institute for Global Transformation. Many hugs and kisses. Take good care. Bye-bye.